The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod and we're coming to you live from the Warner Center in Woodland Hills, California. If I look a little strange, if anything looks a little strange today, it's because things are strange here today. Because, my friends, it is time for the Halloween show. Today is the Halloween show. Now, normally on Wednesdays, we start out and we have Ask Dr. Doreen, and we're always thrilled to bring you an amazing expert in the field of autism. And I have to be honest with you, Dr. Grandpichet was scheduled to be here, was going to be here, and she got called away at the very last minute. So we're going to do things a little bit different in this first hour. There's a couple of questions that came in that were specifically to me, and one to me and Alex Plank, who unfortunately is not here with us. So I'm going to answer for me, not for Alex. I would never speak for Alex, but so we're going to answer those quickly, and then we're going to show you a little bit of Dr. Grandpichet from a couple of months ago, a show that we think is particularly good. You're going to get to see some of our, and then we're going to launch into the Halloween. We're going to play some Halloween recipes for you that go way back to 2011 when my hair was brown. But then, my friends, at the start of the next hour, it is time for Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. And you know Nancy, yes, it's the Halloween version. And you know Nancy brings it when it comes to costume time. This started years ago. We're going to recap what we've done before. We're not going to do it right now, but at the start of the show, we'll recap the costumes we've won before. But Nancy brings it. And I just run to catch up with her, right? So, tune in. If you've been wondering who, in fact, Nancy are going to be, because somebody started calling us the Lucy and Ethel of autism. And of course, she's the Lucy, I'm the Ethel. But that started us on a path of dressing up as things. And, the first year we did do Lucy and Ethel. We'll show you pictures of that later. So you can see what I'm talking about, that I'm just the sidekick. But it's branched into this thing. So you guys helped. I have to say, we asked your opinion. You guys helped. Some of you wrote in. And we did take 1/2 of someone's suggestions. So, tune in to see whether it was you that had the suggestion. All right, but we like to remind you at the start of the show that the entire program is meant to be interactive. We want to hear from you. We want to know your thoughts, your feelings, your concerns, your questions. And Samantha is going to show you some of the different ways that you can connect with us. While she does that, I'm going to remind you that our homepage is autism-live.com. And I'm thinking about all the things that we need to talk about today. We did have the amazing Denim and Diamonds. We're going to be talking about that a little bit later on today, too. But we've also started working on the Festival of Toys, you guys. So one of the reasons why I'm bringing that up is because you want to check out things on our homepage and you want to be interacting with us so we can know your thoughts and feelings. You can click on the triangle that's on the computer screen and that will start the live show playing, or if it's not live, it'll be the most recently recorded live show. And if you want to go back in the archives but stay on that site, all you have to do is go to the little memo tab that's in the upper left-hand corner. You click on that and you can watch the 100 most recent shows here at Autism Live. Now, if you want to go further back into the archives, you certainly can on iTunes. You can do that certainly on YouTube, Stitcher, Roku, all those things you can check out, and it's free everywhere, which we love. But the other great thing about being on our home site is something we call the live feature. It's those series of white boxes that are next to the computer screen. If you put your cursor in the box that says your question, then all you have to do is type. And once you hit enter, it hits a satellite and then gets beamed back down here to me. It takes a couple of minutes. It's not instantaneous. But you and I can have a conversation, and even better than that, you can have a conversation with our experts, which is really very cool. And again, that's free. You don't have to have a login, a username, a password. You can also email me if you have a really long question. I'm always happy to get your email too, and you can connect with us on Facebook. You can send questions on Facebook. We try to make it possible. People have tweeted us questions. Whatever flips your switch. It's all about what you want. Okay, really quickly, I want to get to a couple of questions, and then we're going to get to Ask Dr. Doreen. So somebody wrote in, last Thursday I talked about the trip to the dentist that I had with my son, and we did not disclose. Because sometimes you don't, and we have a question about disclosure. And we didn't think we needed to disclose, and this new dentist got my son into the chair. My son is 13. She had him open his mouth, and she'd already done the x-rays, and she turned around and went off on me and said, something went wrong in his development as a child, something has gone terribly wrong, all with a very thick accent. I was mortified, and she informed me that he must have had some, first she thought that I'd poisoned him with fluoride, given him too much fluoride. And when I assured her that that had not happened, that I'm paranoid about everything I put into my child's body, then she said, well, he must have had a really high fever, which is the truth, right? But it was very traumatic for me. It was like reliving it in a moment in front of my son where I didn't know how he was taking it. It was like a car accident for me emotionally. So somebody wrote in and said that woman is totally inappropriate, especially as a health professional. I'm so sorry. And they did a sad face, and she said, you raised Jem so incredibly well, and you are amazing. Thank you, but clearly not. Like, in the parking lot crying. Completely understand as what that person said hit an old wound. Blessings, deep breaths, sunshines. Thank you so much for helping me through a rough period, and your helpful thoughts gave me the best gift yesterday. The sun is shining for me again. Stay strong. Jem is absolutely a gem, and so we want to thank that viewer for writing that in. But sometimes it just catches you unaware, right? Mike Hipple wrote in and said, I heard a great speaker. Her daughter was in diapers until she was 15. She is nonverbal. By the way, she's an amazing songwriter. Please, 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 and this is to all of you at home, he says, don't believe when people told you they would never be able to do ... And he says, that was my first IEP team, told my parents, and I just went to my first state conference on special education and leadership because, Mike, you are an inspiration to all of us. And thank you for writing that in to remind us that, sometimes these quote unquote experts sit there and say, well, they can't do this and they can't do that. And really, what do they know? Because the human spirit is unknowable, right? Okay, somebody else in response to, on Thursday, we did an interview with Alex Plank, where Alex and I, dug in to some of the difficulties that there are between self-advocates and parents where we don't connect on things because we have trouble taking each other's perspective, right? And so somebody wrote in and said, Shannon, what do you and Alex think about identifying as someone on the spectrum versus just someone? We met a top-notch doctor one time, and the first thing he said was that he was gay, and did that bother us? I was taken aback because it didn't matter at all. What mattered was if he was a good person and a good doctor. I kind of feel the same way for my autistic kid. He's a great person. Why does it matter that he is autistic? Yes, like you, my heart bleeds when some behavior reminds me of autism and we need to deal with it. Do you think it's important for our kids to be in the autism community? Best wishes, and hope your day is much, much better. And I certainly, as I said before, I wouldn't want to ever pretend to speak for Alex, so I'll let him answer that for himself. But what I am learning on this journey, and as I said, my son is 13 now, is that there's no definitive answer. That it's because when you've met one person on the spectrum, you've met one person on the spectrum, but even for that person, things change over time, just like they do for everybody else. So when my son was 4, I felt the need to disclose if I was leaving him in someone's care or if a doctor or a professional was taking care of him. I would have told the dentist. I did tell the dentist when he was 4. But now that he's 13 and he's doing so well, I really just didn't feel like it was necessary to tell the dentist. And I thought that her behavior was really inappropriate. But the truth of the matter is that I have some guilt because if I had disclosed, I would hope that she would have had a sensitivity bone not to stand over him and say something went horribly wrong developmentally when he was a child. Right? So it's hard, and I don't get it right all the time. And my son informs me a lot about when I've gone over the line one way or the other. And what I feel like I've gotten from my son and from Alex and from other friends is that I want to make a bigger deal out of it than it is. That it is not a big deal either way. That that really the choice should, as they grow older, the choice should be theirs. Like, I really wanted the choice to be my son's. And the truth is, his choice was to not disclose to the dentist, and he didn't care that the dentist said that. It was me having the personal meltdown and going, and going back in the time machine. He was like, who cares? And he chooses a lot of times not to tell people. But my son has said, if it comes up in conversation, I'm not going to hide it. It's not something I'm hiding, but it comes up in conversation like it does about, for instance, for him, what do your parents do? Or, not even as much as what video game are you playing right now, but maybe, with his friends, they don't talk, at 13, they don't talk about, so what is it you want to be when you grow up, or what college do you want to go to? That comes up really rarely. And that maybe the autism thing would come up as much as that at this age, if that makes sense. So I think it really matters, person to person, situation to situation. I want a black and white thing. I want to know this is when I don't think it exists. That's my personal opinion on that. And then somebody else wrote in and said, what's the best way to refer families to CARD for services? Should families do the online intake form or call their nearest CARD office? And I tell you, I really believe that the best thing for you to do, the most expeditious thing for you to do, is to call the 800 number that's on the centerforautism.com. So it spells out centerforautism.com site, and there's a 800 number, and I get to see when that phone rings, because where my office is sort of across from where those people sit, and they're amazing people. And they will tell you to do the online intake, but you'll have started a relationship with someone. You'll be assigned to somebody who does a specific area that you're in, and you'll start the relationship. Even though they're going to tell you to do the online, you want to start the relationship with them, because you're going to be with them for at least a couple of weeks doing the paperwork and getting started. If you go to the office, if you call the office, that takes them away from what they're doing. And later on, when your child is being treated there, you'll hope that they get more time to do that. Eventually, you're going to talk to them, but wait until, that's like a present that gets opened later on. So my suggestion is call the 800 number. It's on the card, centerforautism.com. It's listed there. And while you're there, click on the locations tab, see what the office is that's closest to you, and kind of tootle around and see what there is at CARD. There's good reasons to go to the website, but that's where I would go. All right, take a breath. It's so exciting today, all the things we have left to do. So again, what we're going to do now is go to a recorded set of questions that Dr. Doreen Grant-Pichet answered earlier this year that were particularly good. And then you're going to get to see a Halloween montage of recipes, fun recipes to do with your kiddos. You're going to see what my hair used to look like when it was brown. We're going back to 2011 with Emily Goodwin being my sous chef, which is the lie, because she's really the Martha Stewart. But you'll see me with the brown hair and several pounds ago. I keep trying to get back there. Ooh, hard. All right. And then, my friends, it is time for Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. And Nancy and I will be in our costumes, so you're not going to want to miss it. But first, here is Ask Dr. Doreen. There was a mom whose daughter on the autism spectrum loved a particular shirt.
Right,
it was
right.
her
I heard about
comforting
this.
shirt.
Yes.
Particular pattern. They tried giving her different pattern shirts, but this one shirt, this one pattern was the thing.
Right.
And over the years, the mom has had several shirts, but they weren't making the shirt anymore, so she posted, and we've got the picture there on the screen. Thank you, Samantha. This is a Utah mom, Deborah Grisham Skousen. She posted on Facebook and said, here's my daughter, she's on the spectrum, here's the shirt. Does anybody have one of these shirts? Like, do you have it in a garage sale? We need some more of these shirts. Now, it got shared and shared and shared. So the mom has received over 70 of the shirts, and people have offered to send her more to have it turned into blankets and teddy bears and all these kinds of things.
Oh my gosh, are you
serious? How much do we love this? I get goosebumps thinking about the fact that so many people went, well, you know what? I've got one of those. They recognize this is the power of the internet, right?
That's awesome.
So I love it. I love the fact that this mom is going to be able to have this shirt for the daughter, and they're going to be able to turn it into teddy bears and all these other things. But I do think it's worthwhile, not to say, oh, well, you know, she should have just let the t-shirt go. Not that, but in the realm of how can she also start to work on it so that the child isn't completely dependent on just this shirt in her life.
Right.
Because I'm thinking at some point,
right,
you know, when she's 16,
she
may like feel, or the parents might feel like she's being held back by it.
Right.
For now, that's not the decision the family's making, and I support and agree with that.
Right,
but if they or another family wanted to at some point say, what are the different ways they could work on this to make it okay to be without the shirt?
Absolutely. You know, and like everything else, I mean, first of all, I do agree with you completely. It's such a beautiful thing, like that we're, you know, bringing people together, and it's just amazing. And it reminds me of what we're doing right now at CARD with Louisiana and the all the flooding that's occurring in Baton Rouge and that area, and how like within 2.5 days, 2 days really, Monday, Tuesday, Cardians have raised already over $5,000, which is amazing.
For those of you who don't know or haven't been watching the news, there's so much flooding that's happening in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We just were there.
Yeah.
My son and I were just there at the Baton Rouge CARD office and at the Denham Springs office, and we've been looking at the pictures and recognizing places that we were at that are underwater. And we met so many families and therapists and people who work in the offices there that are just like you and I and everybody else, that they're trying to do their best for this group of kiddos, and everybody has hopes and dreams. And now, in addition to all the things that we're all dealing with on a daily basis, a lot of them don't have a home to go back to.
That's right.
A lot of them don't have clothes. They had to leave with almost no notice. They don't know where their next meal is coming from. And somebody from CARD set up a fund that you can donate to if you want, and no amount is too small. But also they're taking donations. If you want the address for either of those two locations, we all have stuff that our kids just outgrew. If you want to put it in a box and send it, you can write to me and I'll give you the address. And if you go on my personal Facebook right now, there is the link to the place to go and make a donation. And also saying if anybody wants to send objects, you can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And our Baton Rouge office address is also on our website. That's where we're collecting clothing and food and blankets and whatever. And of course, CARD is matching the donations 100%. So we are, right now, I think the CARD therapists and staff have raised about $5,000, and of course we will match that as well. So
to go to the families.
To the families and staff.
Yes.
And we're also giving just free work hours to our staff, because they've lost a lot of work hours because obviously the families are not around. So it's impossible. But but it does show how social media can be so effective to do so much good. And going back to this story, it's an amazing story, and it's just so touching, and it is wonderful. But you're right in that, you know, I guess when I look at autism as a whole, it makes our children somewhat different, right? I mean, a child with autism is somewhat different. And there's two aspects. Whenever anyone is somewhat different, it doesn't even matter if it's a diagnosis of some type or if it's a choice. Let's say people who choose to have a different gender or choose to have a different lifestyle, whatever it is. When you're somewhat different from the norm, two things have to happen. The norm has to modify itself a little bit to fit you and to accept you. and you have to modify yourself a little bit to fit into the norm. And that's just the way of life. It's not, I mean, both could choose not to,
yes.
but in both cases that would be a bad thing. Just imagine if the norm, like the majority of the people in the world decided we are not going to accept gays, for example, as an example, right? We're just not going to accept them. That would be a horrible thing. Same thing as, we are not going to accept individuals with disabilities. They're too different. We're not going to be putting, that takes you back to, Nazi Germany, really, right? And the other side of it is those individuals, if they said, we're different and we're not going to be part of you, and we need our own set of rules, our own set of laws, we're not even going to, merge with you in any way. And that would be a bad thing as well, right? So both things have to happen for society to continue. So this, is the norm, the larger world, I guess, compromising or giving and accepting that individual and saying, hey, not only do we accept the fact that you have this incredible need for this shirt, but we're going to help you keep that. We're going to support your differentness. We're going to support it by giving this to you. And now what you're saying, Shannon, which is of course just as important, is how about if we also help this child learn ways to join the norm, right?
And I will say this before we continue, that she doesn't need to wear it at school. So already she's made some accommodations.
Absolutely.
She wears it when she comes home from school, and she wears it to bed for comfort.
Absolutely.
And that's a great thing. That's a great compromise for the age that she is now. But at some point, she may want to move further. And how would we help her to do it?
And this is a very simple thing if you think about it, because realistically, you always have to ask yourself, why do people insist on certain things? Why? What's the reason? Like, why do we do any behavior? I always start with that, obviously, and ABA as a whole always does ask the question, why? That's why we're determining the function. So why is it that she insists on this shirt? At some point in her history, there has been some classical conditioning occurring with this shirt where there's no question. There's not. So either she has had some very extremely positive experience with when wearing this shirt, or seeing it, or something reinforcing is associated with this shirt. So it's an important thing for her, and it probably provides a certain level of, as you said, comfort. And most likely, whenever we have an insistence on sameness, whether it be with an object or a routine or anything else, it is usually a anxiety reducing type of thing. So when we insist on going a certain path back and forth to work, let's say, or to school, it's because that is the path that we are familiar with. Familiarity makes us less anxious. Anything new makes us more anxious. And that is why people who have obsessive compulsive disorder will repeat the same thing as a compulsion, because that is calming. Repetition of a particular behavior is calming. That's a given. So what she's trying to do is she's seeking out this shirt because in some ways it calms her and it gives her some level of comfort and so on. Now, before we think about this and figure out what to do with it, let me ask you, is there an item of jewelry that you wear because it gives you a sense of comfort or a good memory, or it brings you luck?
Yeah, see, I'm not a jewelry person.
Okay.
But there are other things that are like that for me.
Okay.
But I'm not a jewelry person for that.
So,
but yes, I know exactly what you mean.
Absolutely. I mean, so like, my husband gave me this, and it's in our culture, in the Iranian culture, and in the Middle Eastern culture, you have an eye, the form of an eye, right? And that is just, it's sort of like prevents harm from coming to you type thing. And it's a complete superstition. It has nothing at all to do with real life. In fact, since I've been wearing with this, a bunch of stuff has happened that's not very good, as you know, the last few weeks. But the truth is, these are ornaments and things that we think are in some way giving us some sense of security. Yes. So what I'm saying is that we all have this.
Yeah. Oh, watching the Olympics, they all had a lucky thing in their duffel bags. Every single one of them.
There you go. And that is what this shirt is. That's what this shirt is. Mm-hmm. Now, if each of us who had something like this, so let's say for me, is it okay for me to wear this? Sure, it doesn't hurt anything, it doesn't affect anything, and that's that. If I lose it, I've lost it, I can buy others that are similar to it if the eye thing is important to me, whatever it is, right? We all move on. But if it gets to a point where if I lose this or if something should happen to this, my life is put on hold, I fall apart, I have meltdowns, to the point where someone who loves me, let's say my mother or someone else, then has to find the exact object for me, then it starts to become problematic because it makes me being happy more difficult. It produces the possibility that something this small could take away my happiness, right? And so that's why it would be important for this little girl to at some point reduce the absolute need for this particular object, because we don't want her at any point to be dependent on Facebook users or what's going to happen next now. Like, right, as you said, like when she's 18 or something, what if she can't find? What if nobody has this shirt anymore? What if it doesn't exist? So the recommendation I would have is that you do want to start thinking about ways to modify this. And there are many, many ways to modify this. In fact, the fact that people have sent in so many that you could actually make some sort of blanket is a great thing. I would also make a small object of it. So for instance, I don't know, maybe a little, just a little piece like this that has padding in it or something that she could have in her pocket, and make 10 of those, right? And then so she could, no matter what she's wearing, if she wanted, she could take that little piece of that cloth and put it in her pocket. And if you, something as simple as make them smaller, smaller, smaller to the point where it doesn't really matter to her, she will give it up. When it's too small, it won't be, over time, she'll just forget it and it'll be gone. Other things you can do is you can start to generalize it. So you can, if you make a patch, you can put other types of similar material also in the patchwork. So similar pattern, so that gradually over time, the other ones also by association start becoming reinforcing, so that it's not just this pattern, but anything that has flowers on it, let's say, or anything that is pink. I mean, come on, like how many little girls like things that are pink, you know, or red? So you can start to generalize it to other things.
By mixing it with this pattern. Because I think Mom has tried other patterns, but they didn't work, but they weren't with the
They were
pattern.
replacements, and she wasn't ready for a replacement. So what you do is, you know, if you're going to make a quilt, you just mix in one other pattern or two other patterns, and this will still be there. And you gradually, over the course of the next year or two, start to, you know, also have other things that have other patterns, but are associated with complete awesome, fun, good times for her. And I guarantee you over time she will replace them with other relics and things that, you know, like the rest of us. And actually, you know, when I say jewelry, it's because, of course, jewelry has been for thousands of years is something that is like this, right? I mean, a lot of us wear jewelry that's very meaningful to us and so on. It's funny because the wedding ring, of course, is also that. It's not at all... it had nothing to do with bonding at all. It's just something that actually was introduced by jewelers. And
but we've associated with it so long.
That's right.
I'm just not. I don't even wear my wedding ring. See, I'm not that.
You're not a jewelry person that much. So, but it's very interesting, and it's very easy to sort of generalize this to regular life. I think it would be good to do it too.
And I think what's great about the reason why I was thinking let's have this conversation is that they've got plenty of time now.
Oh yeah.
Now you've got 78 shirts and lots of time to be working on this. You don't have to get it done by tomorrow. I think Mom was at panic point of, oh no, I don't have a shirt now, and what am I going to do? And if you start, the thing I learned over and over and over again is slowly. Slowly, slowly, slowly. And if we take care of things slowly, it works, and it's not harmful to our kids, and it's not something that produces anxiety. But if we have to do these things overnight, that's when it's hard on us.
That's right.
As parents.
That's right.
Because our kids will have emotions and they'll go through some anxiety, and it's really stressful for us as parents.
And for the kids, because you're
kids.
pushing them through something. Yeah, that's absolutely right. And I would suggest that you start something now that you have time, as Shannon is saying, and I think it's important and it's easy to do.
And we can all do this. All of our kids have something like this.
And don't worry. I mean, a lot of times, most of us, we give in and we worry when our child cries. It's not a big deal. Don't be scared when your child cries. Think of crying as an expression. If the child had typical development, during their crying, they'd probably be saying stuff like, but this is so unfair, I really want that shirt, stuff like that. And then you would care less about it than you do now. When our kids can't express themselves, we think that when they cry, they're really falling apart. They're not. They're just expressing themselves. So it's not something to panic or worry about. You can actually take your time and think about, like, she's going to be fine. She's going to get over this.
There was a moment when the A Word first started, and I was watching one of the first early episodes of the A Word with my son in the room. And there's a moment in which Jack Riley is in the other room and he is crying because they're not allowing him to tip over and watch his trains on the side. There's nothing horrible happening. They're not being abusive. They're just having him sit back up, and he's fatutzed and he starts to cry. And mom is on the outside of the door and she's a mess and she's crying and she's like, I want to go in. I don't know what to do. And she calls a friend and they talk her off the ledge. And I was sitting there watching this and I was remembering those moments. And I was thinking about Bryce Myler talking about sitting outside the door and crying and how hard it is on us to watch our kids do these hard things. And I was having an emotional moment, and here comes my son and he starts watching and he says, why is that mom crying? At this point, he was like 8 or 9. And he said, why is the mom crying? And I said, because her little boy is on the other side of the door and he's doing therapy and he's having a hard time. And he said, but that's just, why is she upset, right? We're having this whole, and I thought it was, oh, this is autism, he's not understanding. And I said, well, you know, I used to do that. I used to sit outside your door and cry when you were upset, and I couldn't come in and say something because I needed you to learn. And he said, oh, Mom, I was fine. I was just frustrated.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you're frustrated, you cry, but you know, you're okay when you're frustrated. You get frustrated, you're okay when you're frustrated. I was fine.
Yeah.
And I called the mom on the A Word and I said, if somebody could have called me and told me that my kid was going to say this, I would have so appreciated. So I'm calling you to tell you this.
That's so nice.
And she said, thank you, because I will remember that someday he's going to say I was just frustrated.
That's right.
And so I share that with all of you. It's hard, though.
Honestly, it's very, very hard. I look back and I think about Charlie, my little one, you know, who's now 15, and when she was little, she just would not sleep. Like, she refused. And it was tough because I had already gone through my other two, and I'm a behaviorist and I'm a psychologist, and what on earth is going on? I can't get this child to sleep. And I would be wiped out and exhausted sitting outside her room on the floor crying and saying, oh my God, please, you know, and my husband would come and say, are you crazy? Like, you train everybody to how to do this. You need to come and go back to bed, you know? And I'm like, but I can't leave her, and all this sort of stuff. And it's extremely hard. And you know what? She doesn't even remember it.
Right.
She does not even
remember
it. Exactly. I do, because it traumatized me.
Yes.
But in her, what she was doing was she was just telling me what's going on with her.
Yeah, exactly. All right, on that note, we're going to take a break. We do have a question coming up about sleep. So if you're like, ooh, how did she make it work? That question is coming up, plus a bunch more. So we're going to take a break and be back with more Ask Dr. Doreen after these messages.
Did you see this last one?
Currently, in the United States, 1 in 88 children is affected by autism. 1 in 88 means something different when your child is the one. Recovery is possible. Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, host of Autism Live, an online show about autism broadcast by CARD, the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. I'm also the mother of a child with autism. My beautiful son, Jem. You know our old joke, guess what?
Chicken butt.
Chicken butt. So we're gonna take the chickens. But things weren't always so easy. I remember when Jem was first diagnosed with autism. I used to lay awake at night in bed and pray for someone or something that could help us to get our child back. My prayers were answered by Dr. Doreen Graham-Pichet and the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. CARD treats autism and other related disorders using the principles of ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis, which is the only scientifically proven effective treatment for autism. It is also recommended by the American Academy of Pediatrics and the U.S. Surgeon General. About a year after we started treatment with CARD, we were able to see tremendous improvement, and we got our child back.
What grade are you in?
Second.
You are a smart cookie, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Do you like school?
Yeah.
Do you have any good friends?
Yeah, Oscar.
Oscar is your best friend?
Yeah.
And my child is just one of thousands to benefit from CARD ABA therapy. Across the nation and around the world, children are making amazing progress and being given the keys to unlock their full potential.
Recovery from autism is absolutely a possibility. We've been recovering children for over 20 years. It's just a matter of identifying the child's medical needs, understanding the child's sensory issues, and then teaching the child all of the skills they need in order to function normally.
We know there's hope for autism. Autism is treatable and recovery from autism is possible.
Welcome back to Autism Live and to Ask Dr. Doreen. We're here with Dr. Doreen Graham-Pichet. She's answering your questions in real time, and we're having a really wonderful, good time. Okay, I've got so many questions, but I said we would talk about the sleep. Somebody wrote in and said, hello, Shannon, do you have any ideas how I can get my son to sleep at night and through the night? And since you were just bringing up the fact that you had issues with your youngest daughter, this is a lot of people, and I got to be honest that a lot of times when you're going to start a good quality ABA program, and you should be starting a good quality ABA program if you're not already, and we're going to talk more about that in the next hour. But a lot of times we talk about how your child has to get healthy enough to do it, and they have to be well rested enough. And you've mentioned before how important it is that the parents are well rested enough to do it.
Yes.
And so getting that sleep component on board for everybody's sake is
very important.
all important.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of different things about sleep, and it's a very important subject, and I don't want to cut it short, but I'll try to, we actually have some brochures and trifolds that kind of explain all aspects of what to do to get your child to sleep, and we'd be happy to send those out there.
If you want to, just drop me your email and say I want the sleep brochure and give me your address and I'll send it to you.
Yeah, they're very useful. So, with sleep, like anything else, is sort of it very much depends. It's a learned behavior. And we know this for sure because when we have infants, of course, they wake up multiple times a night, and they're waking up. Usually they don't really need anything, but when they wake up, if we get into the habit of giving them food or drink, then they continue to wake up and they never get off that schedule. And if we don't give them food or drink, then generally, unless they're wet and need a diaper change, they will sleep. And actually, that's a really interesting way to look at it, because a parent told me a long time ago, and this goes back to the subject of when our kids cry.
Yeah.
And a parent said to me, we were talking about this whole concept of crying being talking, like crying is a kind of communication. And the mom said to me, and it was a really interesting thing, and she said, if you think about it, brand new babies, of course, that's the only way they communicate, right? And when it's a pain cry, when it's a wet cry, when it's a hunger cry, and we do. We really
you
learn
do.
that.
A lot of us don't, but they show more and more programs so that we can help to identify.
Right.
I didn't know that.
But for sure, that one thing is natural, like the difference between a pain cry, because it's an extreme pain cry, versus any other cry. And the interesting thing for me is this mom said to me, she said, with our typically developing kids, we all start out that way. It's just that because they're typical, by the time they hit 1, we don't accept it anymore. Yeah. And we're like, enough of this already. You better call me if you want me, or tell me what you want. I'm not coming whenever you cry. But with our kids with autism, we just assume they can't do the same thing. And so we never, and the child could be 5, and we still try to cater to their cry and figure out what it is. You know what I mean? So it's very interesting. Now, with sleep, it's kind of the same thing. It's don't try to, there's two things, is the antecedent control and the consequence control. That means a behavior occurs, you always try to change the things that occur before it and the things that occur after it in order to change that behavior.
Okay.
So the not sleeping, or let's say a behavior is never a not. So let's say when the child doesn't sleep, they wake up. So waking up or crying during the night or those types of things that indicate the child is awake is the behavior we want to change, right? So we would like our child to remain asleep, right? So what can we do before it and what can we do after it to help modify that behavior? Some of the things we can do before it are, we can make sure the environment is quiet. So you want to make sure the room is quiet. Our kids, because they are very sensitive to sound, you got to make sure that there's certain things. Sometimes I have kids who wake up like because the sprinklers outside go on, and we have to make sure that we deal with that, right? So it's quiet and there are no noises that are regularly waking the child up. Second thing is that it's dark. Darkness significantly impacts the production of melatonin, and so it's very important that it be a dark environment. So get those shades that darken the room and all that sort of stuff is very important. And that, of course, the child is comfortable, right? So they have a comfortable space and so on. And perhaps even give the child a variety of different things that make the child comfortable, like their stuffed animals or whatever it is. Do not give stimulating things. Obviously, we don't want toys in the room that are that generally the child becomes hyperactive with. Those toys, like outdoor toys or musical toys or toys that have a lot of lights and flashing lights and so on. And so these are some antecedent modifications. Other antecedent modifications are things like, don't give the child a lot to drink after 6 p.m. Let's assume, or even 5 p.m. Let's say 2 or 3 hours before the child goes to bed. Because what you want to make sure is that, you are not provoking the child's bladder becoming active in the middle of the night. You want the child's body and physiology to be comfortable as well. So not too many liquids before the child sleeps. Another thing is, obviously, make sure that the diet that you have your child on is not one that causes discomfort. So that would mean you don't want to give your child, and this would apply to children of all ages, but whether it's a baby, you want to make sure the formula you're giving to your infant is something that they can digest well, so that when you lay them down, they don't have gas. If it's an older child, you want to make sure they don't have bloating or, let's say, reflux. All of those things lead to bad sleep, right? So all that is stuff that you have to take care of, and it's all antecedent control. So you do all that. What do you do on the consequence control is when your child wakes up in the middle of the night, you do not reinforce that behavior by giving the child something to eat or drink. When you reinforce something with a primary, which is a primary reinforcer being food or drink, it is so hard to break that habit. I can't even tell you. Like, it's incredibly difficult. If at maximum, like, you never should give milk or food in the middle of the night. If you give the child anything at all, it could potentially be water, maybe a little bit, or a pacifier, but not food or drink, because food or drink, the child will automatically, it's a physiological response that it'll trigger, and he'll wake up at 3 o'clock every morning because now he wants something to eat. And that's a pretty bad habit. So you want to make sure that the child is getting enough nutrition on the antecedent side before 5 p.m., let's say, so that they can actually carry through the night. So the child wakes up and cries. What do? You want to make sure that you're not responding just to the crying. So you're not going in every single time the child cries. Now, there's 2 ways to handle this. One is just completely cut it off. Don't go in at all. And you will have 3 nights maximum of the child completely crying like you can't believe, because from the child's perspective, they're like, wait a minute, until now I cried, somebody came and picked me up. But the truth is, as soon as they realize crying is ineffective, they'll stop and they will sleep through the night and nothing will happen. Now, as a parent who found that to be very harsh on myself and couldn't do that, there are numerous schedules that, they say ferberize your child. I mean, there's schedules that are specifically for this. So one schedule is that you go in, and when the child cries, you go in. The first time you will comfort the child, just put your hand on the child's back, baby, let's say it's an infant, pat them and tell them to relax, and you'll stay for 15 minutes. Then you go out. Then when the child wakes up again or cries again, you go in, now this time for 10 minutes only, and pat the child and leave. Third time for 5 minutes, and then from there on, the child has to be quiet for a new session to start. If they're not quiet, then you just don't go in anymore. So let me tell you, when you do these schedules, it takes longer. The whole thing takes longer. So really this has a lot to do with you being able to cope and not go in. Now, keep in mind, everything is taken care of. Also, in this day and age, you probably have a video monitor in there so you can see your child. Most people do now. When I had kids, we only had the sound monitors. We didn't have the video. But the truth is, you can see your child. Your child is just awake. They're not harmed or in any way. I mean, nothing is wrong. Obviously, we're not talking about sick children. When a child is sick, it's a whole different thing. But, there's nothing wrong. So there's no reason to go in. It's just your own response, and it's almost like a reflex. Obviously, when you're nursing, you have the same reflex, right? You start producing milk as soon as you hear your child's cry. But it's a matter of just tolerating and sitting outside. And with the video monitors, it's much better nowadays, because you can actually see your child.
Yes.
And you can make sure that they're not hurt in any way.
Right. On some of them, you can see well enough to see that they're still breathing, which is what some of us need.
That's exactly right. You just need, well, I mean, if they're crying, they're breathing.
Right.
Those are the main things. It's really just a matter of not reinforcing on the back end, and then making sure on the front end that you've done everything to help sleep. Now, sometimes if you travel, or for a variety of different reasons, your child biochemically might have issues where sleeping is not occurring. You definitely want to check with your pediatrician for sure, to make sure there's nothing going on that's preventing sleep. Sometimes our kids have seizures during sleep. That's important to check. And then I am a firm believer in helping children sleep with the help of melatonin. Melatonin is good for you. There's nothing harmful in it. I particularly myself use this product called Tranquil Sleep, which is fantastic. It's melatonin, 5-HTP, which is tryptophan, and theanine. All are very, very good for you. And so that is very helpful, and it helps your child actually fall asleep fast and stay asleep for a decent amount of time. But with or without that, these techniques do work. It's just a matter of sticking with it.
And I'm just going to say this because I know a lot of times as behaviorists, you guys think, well, duh, and sometimes we miss this as parents. But how important, I was trying a whole bunch of things to get Jem to sleep, and nobody had thought to say to me, and you must stop the napping.
Oh, yes, of course. So important.
Right? Because I was like, well, he's taking that 3-hour nap in the afternoon, but, I can't understand why he's not going to sleep till 2 o'clock. You have to stop the napping, and you have to, everything in our house became this thing, because he would be sleepy between 3 and 5.
Right.
Like, if you left him alone for 3 seconds, he could tip over and fall asleep.
Right.
So from 3 to 7, we ran his little butt every which way we could.
Yes.
And kept him awake. I had to be constant movement, or he would go to sleep, and then he could go to sleep.
So that's
but it was ugly sometimes.
That's a very, very good point. Now, with newborns and infants, we're not saying don't give them a nap. Obviously, you have to stay on a nap schedule, but really when you are past the age of, I think, 1 or 2, you need to really start reducing those naps and understand that the napping obviously will reduce the need for sleep at night.
Yeah,
for sure.
All right, we're going to rapid fire some questions here, but I also, a couple of programming notes. Somebody wrote in and said, love your show, but can you increase the volume on the YouTube? And I just want to let you know, we've had some sound issues. We believe that we've isolated the problem, so it should not be a problem. But anybody who is having sound issues, both in the live show or during the YouTube, please write to me immediately, because as far as I know, we've isolated the issue. So, having said that, somebody has written in from the SGC office and wants you to know that they are a proud member of the Pooh Research Stick around for the webinar later on today.
That's awesome.
So that you can find out about that. But they have also written in and said, good morning, we are in need of proper age-appropriate sensory room in our SGC office. The sensory room built for today is for toddlers. How can Shannon help us out? We need help. I want to give you the note that please come to there's something called the CARD PTA. We don't usually talk about it on the show at large. It's called the PTA because it's for parents that are truly amazing. We have a monthly national meeting, and I can talk to you about how you can get more equipment that you want. But you probably have a teen room already. I've been going to the offices, and I've been so excited to see what's happening in the different offices. You probably already have a teen room, and it might be just adding a couple of sensory things to your teen room. That, but I can help you to figure out how exactly you can do that. But you got to come to the PTA. So. Anytime you want to get a hold of me for any reason, s.penrod, PENROD, at autism-live.com, and let's get you some teenage stuff going on in your SGC office. Okay, another person wrote in and said, Dr. Doreen, or maybe not even teenager, maybe tween, whatever it is. Let me know what it is. Dr. Doreen, my son, 10-year-old, doesn't like kids, especially younger ones. He says that they are loud and it hurts. He says it hurts my ears. We can't have friends with kids in our house, and we have tried almost everything, using headphones, introducing him to kids very slowly. We also need to have a therapist at our house if a child is coming over, and it can't be any therapist, only one that has control over him. What do you recommend for us to do?
Well, I mean, this is also one of those situations where a lot of our kids, I mean, the minute I heard that the child doesn't like younger kids, before you even said it, Shannon, I knew it had to do with sound. A lot of times our kids have sensitivity to sound, and it's a process of acclimating, I guess, to those particular sounds. That was the auditory training that was occurring back in the early, I want to say like late 90s and early 2000s, you know, the Berard, I think it was called Berard.
Berard, and yes.
I don't even remember the names
yes,
anymore.
Berard, and actually Tomatis,
and yes.
ARI, auditory.
Yeah, I just don't remember.
We've had people on the show. You can find out more about it on. We've had people on the show.
Auditory integration training is basically this. What it does is it has music, and it's modulated so that certain frequencies of sound come across louder than others. And if they can, I mean, in many cases they couldn't identify the exact frequency of sound that our kids had problems with because the child couldn't tell them. You know how you do an audiogram and you have to like press a button when you hear a certain sound? Our kids couldn't do that. So they had formulated what they called the autism profile. And what it was like music, like, you know, Barry Manilow or whatever. It was all different types of music, and it was just sounded like that because certain sounds were lower and other frequencies were higher. And you would listen to this, depending on which technique you were doing, either once a day or twice a day, for a period of 10 days, and then again, Tomatis would allow you to repeat 3 segments. Berard, I think it was Berard, wasn't it?
I think it's Berard.
Berard?
Whatever.
Okay.
Right.
We don't remember now. But they would only allow it one time. But anyway, what it did was it acclimated your hair cells. It activated hair cells in the inner ear that had not been activated. And as a result, the neighboring hair cells in the inner ear would calm down a little bit. So when you have a situation, this is a very real sensory thing that occurs, visual and auditory, is that when certain cells are very active, the ones next to them aren't. And if you can try to deactivate the ones that are hyperactive, the other ones kind of grow and become all, so then your hearing and your vision becomes normal, like ours, which is like human beings have sensitivity to certain frequencies of sound, and we're all pretty much the same. So this type of training would help your child acclimate to sounds. And you can try to do this yourself. Like you could start with a very, very low, just get a recording of the sound of children, the sounds that bother him, and play it on a very low volume in the background. And then every day, over the course of 10, 20 days, increase the volume a tiny bit so that he acclimates to it. And I promise you, he will become used to it. But he has now associated that sound, which bothered him, to little children. So it'll be a whole different thing teaching him that when the next, he'll easily get over the sound problem. But then when he sees a child, he'll immediately, even if the child is completely silent, he'll immediately resist that because he has associated it with that prior painful experience. So you will need to then also, for instance, on TV or videos or so on, have children playing, and then also bring children, but in a very quiet environment, so that he realizes children are not always associated with that painful experience. And then that's how you do it. It's basically generalizing and getting him habituated to this fear that he's developed of this harsh sound, frequency sound for him.
And I just wanted to tell people, if you're interested in finding out more about this particular type of therapy, we had Kimberly Hurwell Hewitt on the show talking about this AIT, auditory integration therapy.
That's right.
And she does it here in California, but she will fly to wherever you are. She gets a pocket of children together where they can do that type of therapy. And it can be expensive, but there are several different funding sources that will give grants for it, including the United Children's Health Fund gives grants to be able to do it.
That's awesome.
So, but you can, if you search through our YouTube, you can find Kimberly Hurwell Hewitt, and it's Kimberly with a K-H-Y. I'm also friends with her on Facebook, so you can connect with her through me on Facebook as well. But this is what she does. She's an amazing woman. Happy Halloween. I'm Shannon Penrod, the host of Skills Live, and with me is Emily Goodwin. She's the technical director of Skills Live, and we're here today to show you some really easy, healthy recipes that you can make for Halloween with your children. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is make this lovely cauliflower brain. And the ingredients that we need for this, we need some sort of a platter. We need a cauliflower, and we have an organic cauliflower here. Emily, take it away for us.
We have some natural guacamole, some organic salsa, some potato chips, and then some pull-string licorice.
Okay, so those are all the things that we're going to need. Plus, we have a very sharp knife and a spoon. So using the knife and preparing the cauliflower can be something you can do beforehand, before you call the children in, depending on their ages and their skill level. All right, so we're going to pull the leaves off of this and put the pieces away. You can compost them if you do that sort of thing, or just throw them away. You want to remove all of the green. This part might be fun, actually, for the kids. It's a difficult one. I'm just going to slice this part off and pull some more of the green out because there's no green on the brain. But one key thing here is that we want to slice off just the tip here so that it's going to sit flat like a brain. And this is the point where the kids can be really helpful. If you have it already measured, and that's about 1.5 cups of salt, so whatever size platter you're using, and you can have them dump it right on the plate, and that's a pretty enjoyable part of it. Swish it around. Okay, we can put the cauliflower right in the middle of it. And you can see how easy this is. Super duper easy. Has big impact if you're doing a Halloween party. But it's also having fun with your veggies, something that we want to do with the kids. And we can take the chips. I'm going to let you do that with the licorice while I throw some chips around the plate. And these, by the way, are organic, oven-fried, no-salt chips. You can use whatever you want, but we want to keep this as healthy as possible. And she's laying those laces around so they look like the veins of the brain that has gone bad. You can see it just takes a couple of minutes and you end up with this lovely, delicious, healthy brain for the children to eat. And it looks good on the table, too. Tastes good, too, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Awesome. Right now, what we're gonna make are hot dog mummies. These are really fun. You can see our finished ones over here. We only need a few things for this. We need some hot dogs. Right now we're using organic chicken hot dogs that are fully cooked, which is a wonderful thing. We have some mustard. We have some all-natural crescent dough on a plastic sheet that we can roll it out on. We have our rolling pin. I have a little bit of coconut flour, but you can use any kind of flour that you want. This just smells awesome. And we have a sharp knife. So this is the part of the project that we want to be careful around kids. You could use a duller knife or a plastic knife, or do this part yourself when the kids aren't around. But if you open up your refrigerated dough and you roll it out, just throw a little bit of coconut flour onto it so that it doesn't stick as much to the rolling pin, and roll it out so that you can't see the lines anymore. Oh, it smells good, doesn't it? I love the smell of coconut flour. And it bakes really a wonderful scent too into the whole house. Okay, and it doesn't have to be perfect, because the great thing about this recipe is that it's very forgiving. If the dough breaks when you're wrapping up the hot dog, it's okay, because the mummy can have lots of different bandages. All right, we're gonna go and just cut through this dough. And they can be different width strips, it doesn't really matter. And you really could do this with a plastic knife. I want to mention too that if you have dietary considerations and you need something to be gluten-free, I did this the other day for my son with a gluten-free pizza crust mix, and it worked the same. I just had to be really careful. I thought that the key to it all was getting the dough really dry while I was rolling it out and cutting it out, and then wetting it before I wrapped it around the dry hot dogs. Okay, so I'm gonna take one hot dog and Emily's gonna take another, and part of the fun of this is that you want to make like a little hat so that there is a place later on to put eyeballs made out of mustard. So you can wrap it around the head, make like a turban for your mummy, and then start to, and you see it broke. Doesn't matter, because it's dough and it can be a separate bandage. It's not a problem. You just wrap it around. The kids love this because they know they're going to get to eat it later on. It's very healthy and a quick dinner that makes it really fun. You just slather it on. And then we're going to bake it for about 12 to 14 minutes at a 350-degree oven. See? Easy. He's got a head. Oh, yours is so much prettier than mine. She's Martha Stewart. Okay, so we're going to put that into the oven. We don't need to do anything else. And I put it on some parchment paper so that I don't have to use any kind of spray or oil or anything and add ingredients. We're going to stick it into the oven, and through magic, this is what they look like when they're done. And the other fun element of this is that then you take the mustard and you can give it to the kids for them to put eyes right on, and Emily's going to do that. Awesome. And if you want bloody mummies, you can include ketchup. So, those are big eyes. The other day when I did this with my son, he wanted to put sliced olives on top of the mustard for eyes. But you can see that these are cute, they're tasty, and really healthy. Those are mummy hot dogs. And you can write Happy Halloween in mustard if you're Martha Stewart. Very good.
All right, we're gonna move on to some spooky spider cupcakes. So what you're gonna wanna do is bake a box of regular brand cupcake, or they have gluten-free, sugar-free options as well.
Awesome ones, yes.
Which are great. I pre-made these cupcakes standard. Cupcake rules apply. You'll need some eggs and some oil and water. But we've gone ahead and done that already. So what you want to do is take some chocolate frosting, and we're going to frost our cupcake with a thin layer. Doesn't need to be too crazy.
Ooh.
Yes.
Smells good too.
Does smell good. And then we brought some blue sprinkles, and these are naturally colored with vegetable juice, correct?
Vegetable juice, blue.
Which is fantastic. And so these are blue, and then we're going to just sprinkle the top of our cupcake here.
Awesome.
For eyes, I just got some jelly beans here of different colors. You can use M&Ms or whatever you're more comfortable using. And all you want to do is split your jelly bean in half. So there's your eyeball, Shannon.
Awesome.
I'll have orange eyes on mine. And then you're just going to place them in the front of the cupcake. And then for their little scary legs, we've got some pull and peel Twizzler here, but they also sell natural candy rope, which you can use as well. So then we're just going to pull off our little legs, and the cupcakes are soft enough where you can actually stick the little leg right into it.
And you're just jamming them down?
Just jam them in there.
Alrighty. Ooh, look at that leg.
And this is a good time to teach your kids about bugs and that they have 8 legs.
That's a great thing to add to the lesson. And you know, there's lots of different other things too. Like I have frosting on my hands, and sometimes kids don't like that. It's a flexibility issue. But this is a wonderful way in which to work on those things so that, you know, they can take those skills with them later on. If it's at home and it's a little bit of frosting with you, it's a little bit more reinforcing because it tastes good than if they're on the schoolyard and it's mud and things like that.
And then once you're done, you have your little 8-legged friend.
Mine looks like he needs a haircut, but but they're very fun and they taste good, and the kids will enjoy working on these.
That's right, and they're super cute.
They are. And that's Halloween. Healthy and fast and fun. Yes.
So we started out as Lucy and Ethel. Samantha, you got that shot? There we are. Lucy and Ethel.
And you can see my Ethel is somewhat lacking.
Well, Shannon now realizes that when she tells me to dress up, I get serious.
She does.
So I thought you were great, Ethel, but you said you looked more like Barbara Bush or George Washington in drag.
I did, thank you.
But I did do a Lucy makeup tutorial and rented a wig and a dress. So, you know.
I'm pretty sure that Lucy actually wore that dress, is what I think.
And I rented the shoes. Okay,
Yes.
the next year, we were, Samantha, you got the next year? Oh, you brought it that year, baby.
I had to, but
You
look
brought
at you.
it.
Look at how amazing you are.
QE2, I used the Lucy wig, great recycling.
Yes.
And I actually made a headdress out of a pin that I had and a lace necklace. I tea-stained the ruff.
Yes.
And
I sewed that dress the night before.
you sewed the dress the night before, and I told you if you were going to be the queen, the current queen, you had to have a corgi.
Yes.
And how did you make this corgi?
I found a stuffed dog. It was a German Shepherd. It had very long legs and it was all a different color at a garage sale. Bought it for $1, cut its legs off, sewed its feet back on short, and painted the face of it to look like a corgi. That's the best thing I did.
And the sash,
I
and
made
the
sash
purse,
the night
and
before.
the crown.
You brought me the purse.
I know. You know, I give you a little help.
And my
every year.
husband made the crown.
Unbelievable. You brought it. We brought it that year, I have to say. Okay, then last year, everybody loved our costumes, I have to say. We were Martha Stewart and Julia Childs.
Julia Childs.
You do a great Julia voice, and
you were upset with me though that I didn't dye my hair.
You didn't dye your hair, I know, because I'm a perfectionist.
That's
but
right.
For Martha, as you see, Martha in prison garb, but she does have on her Chanel shoes and jewelry along with her apron, and you have Julia's what is that?
Her trait, école, whatever.
Yeah, whatever the school is.
I literally photoshopped the actual thing and made it into a patch and sewed it on by hand.
Okay, well this year we are a viewer suggestion.
Yes, you ready?
Ready? Do 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 do. Can't touch this. Do 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 do. Yeah yeah yeah. Rosie.
Yes.
How's it doing, babe?
Rosie O'Donnell.
And I'm Ellen DeGeneres. Hey.
And can I just say that you are a cutie patootie.
You know, Rosie, I love you, babe. And I'm telling you, hey, how's that Donald Trump friendship going, huh? How is that? You know, I heard him tell Hillary the other night that he actually likes you after having gone through 3 debates with her. Okay. Everybody today is getting a free copy of Finding Nemo. Everybody in the audience.
And the disclaimer on that is that is not true. Everybody is not getting a Finding Nemo, okay?
Kill me.
That's not happening.
You kill me. You kill me.
If we had millions and millions of dollars, that would happen, but that is not happening. Oh, Ellen. Oh, Ellen.
Okay. So
we've got a great show. We're going to talk about autism, and Ellen and I, and it will be great. And we have a great guest that's going to be on the show. She's a cutie patootie, and she has a daughter who is a very cutie patootie, makes jewelry on the
jewelry.
Spectrum. So, you have to love that. That's, a great thing. And we've got some news stories to cover as well, and we're gonna have a good time.
Let's get right to it.
Ellen, she's she's gonna dance.
Yeah, we're gonna
that's
have a
what
little
she
dance
does.
contest coming in and out. We're gonna just do our thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
So you want to launch into the news?
Let's launch in.
All right.
Okay, so one gene links autism and tumor disorder. Scientists have linked mutations in a single gene to autism to people who have a rare tumor syndrome, typically diagnosed in childhood. The findings in patients with neurofibro. Can you pronounce this, Rosie? Because I'm having a hard time.
I don't even know where you are. Neurofibromatosis. Neurofibromatosis. I can say it.
It may lead to a better understanding of the genetic roots of autism in a wider population. And for a study published in JAMA Psychiatry, researchers looked at 531 patients at 6 clinical centers in the United States, Belgium, and the United Kingdom, and Australia, and found that mutations in the NF1 gene that cause the disease also contributed to autistic behaviors in almost half of the patients.
So what I find particularly interesting about this is that it's a simple hearing test. All you got to do is a simple hearing test, and that it could, in some cases, predict an autism risk. I don't know that they know that it's really autism or it's autism symptoms, but either way, they can predict it earlier with a hearing test. How much do we love that, right?
I think it's great. And it says that, what is this thing about skin cells, Rosie? Do you know this?
I got no clue whatsoever. We need a scientist in here to read this stuff. Who does this?
Well, it says that the findings also help scientists who study the genetics of autism understand how mutations in a single gene can contribute to symptoms of autism, such as problems with social and language skills and repetitive behaviors. Okay.
All right.
So that's basically it.
So that's some good news. Fabulous. Whatever. Okay. So this next story, I don't know about you, but this got me I got a little heated.
Rosie, I'm right there with you. I was a little upset. Family pushes for change after man with autism arrested by OVI, which I'm not really sure what an OVI is, other than a DUI. But the basic story, this is Dublin, Ohio. And Chris Page pulled away from his mother's house in Dublin. It was a far cry from when he was pulled over for speeding back in March. And Page, 30, was coming home from dinner at his father's house when he was pulled over near the mall. And he said officers asked if he was drinking, told them he had only had Pepsi, but Paige, who is autistic, failed the sobriety test. I don't know how that happened.
Well, and he told them that he had autism, and, on the recording that they have of the police off, and, police, we love the police, right? We love our first responders, but come on, they don't get the proper training, and then we have these things happen. So here's this cutie patootie, and he tells them, I have autism, and they have on the recording that the officers said, I don't know what that means. And so they have him do a typical sobriety test, touching and, talking and answering to social cues, and he didn't respond right, so they assumed that he had been drinking alcohol. And so he gets arrested, and now his mother is, I'm right there with her.
I mean, who can blame her, right? Who can blame her?
This is a problem, and it all stems from the fact that the police did not have proper training. And I feel for the guy, he's standing there and says, I don't know what that means. And, we have a responsibility to respond to what we're responding to. Okay, fine. But, when is enough, I'm saying.
I'm right there with you, babe. Okay.
And I have a feeling that Shannon and Nancy would say the same
I
thing.
think so too.
All right. So our best goes out to them. Get some training to those Ohio people.
Yeah, get them some training,
So we have a lot to talk about because we're going to talk about autism. And were you there on Sunday night for that fabulous event, Stars and Denim and Diamonds?
I'm telling you, the stars came out. It was such a cool event. I just loved being there. I was on the red carpet, and you were on the red carpet. Denim and Diamonds, Stars for Autism. It was such a cool thing. How about that Corey Feldman? He's kind of a cool kid, right?
Yeah,
He's not even a kid anymore. I was thinking of him as a kid, because he was like a child star.
Yeah, but he was. You talk about a cutie patootie. He was fabulous.
How about those tennis shoes? They like lit up blue.
I totally thought you were going to say something else.
They lit up blue.
Yes, no, it's the tennis shoes. I thought you were going to talk because he had, a young lady with him. I thought you were going to say something else. It's a kid-friendly show. What are we doing?
Rosie, where's the mind today? Is it in the?
Hey. Anyway, so we have a great guest who's here who flew all the way in to do this show. Bless her heart, she had no idea what she was walking into when she signed up to do the Halloween show.
You think she'll dance with us?
She's a fabulous mom. Maybe I don't know. But so she has a daughter who is on the spectrum, and I had forgotten, I think I knew once upon a time that her daughter was one of the first children that was treated at CARD. And yes, did you know that?
I didn't know.
In any case, so now her daughter is a beautiful young woman who is making jewelry and doing a lovely job. And so she's an entrepreneur, and that's a fabulous thing. And we need to support our kids when they are making money and having a job. And so it's jewelry designs by Siri. And so her mom is here. You have the mom's name.
I do, Swathi.
Swathi.
Her name is Swathi. What a beautiful name, huh?
And so she's going to be with us in just a moment, and we'll decide whether we torture her with
whether we go back,
or whether we
I love your accent. Unfortunately, I keep falling into it myself.
It's here and gone, and then it's back, and then it's
Ellie
not
just
very
kinda,
consistent.
Ellen just kind of talks.
She
just kind of talks fast, and she's just but I'll be dancing a lot today, and trying to channel the moves.
I particularly love the chair acting is what's and the wig is to die for. You're killing me. All right. So maybe we could play a little match game later on.
Maybe.
Anyway, we have a very serious guest who's here, and she's fabulous. And wait till you see the jewelry that her daughter makes. And again, we're supporting, and because that's what we do. And yeah. So should we take a break?
Yeah, let's take a break. Okay, well,
so we'll be
while
right
we
back.
break, I'm going to do a little dancing. I'm going to go out into the audience and kind of just do some moves, okay? I'm going to bust a
And
move.
I'm not going to do any dancing. So we'll be back after these messages.
Can't touch this. Can't touch this.
Hi guys, welcome back to Smarty. For this month, I figured we're going to do a super special portrait that is in the theme of October, which means spooky eyes that follow you as you walk around. In this activity, you and your child are going to work on emotions and socio-dramatic play. So let's get started. The materials you'll be needing are a camera, a ping pong ball, X-Acto blade, tape, and a marker. And if your kids are up to it, props and costumes. Now let's take some photos. It's a great time to work on emotions and socio-dramatic play. Let's get our props.
See all the colors in the sky tonight. It's time to let the sunshine hide.
Once you've finished your photo shoot with your child, select one of the photos and print it out on a large piece of paper. Now that you've selected your photo, you're going to take an X-Acto blade and just cut out the eyes from it. This part of the activity is definitely only for the adults. Now that you've finished cutting out the eyes, what we're going to do next is take a ping pong ball and cut it in half. You'll see why in just a moment. So with the ping pong balls, we're going to create the illusion of the following eyes. So what you're going to do is take a marker and you're going to make a dot in the very, very center. You're going to want to make it like the same size of what the iris was in the photo. Now that the ping pong balls are done, I'm just going to tape them to the back of the photograph. So does it look like she's following you? Well, I hope you enjoyed this activity for Smarty. Until next time, craft on, guys.
Can you see me flying by your side?
I'm very excited to be here at Denim and Diamonds. This is a fantastic night, supported by so many incredible people, and to see the kind of change and the kind of help that's being given.
It's kind of like going to the Oscars, and it's just been growing ever since, and we're overwhelmed at the support from the community.
I first want to thank everybody for coming out and really helping this Denims and Diamonds fundraiser, because autism has affected so many people, and the work that they've been doing is just off the charts and just wonderful.
As a mom, I'm grateful that I was managed to get the intervention for my daughter when she was young. So it's important to see that all kids can get the same type of intervention.
You with the side eyes, don't be discouraged, oh I realize it's hard to take courage.
We're just thrilled to be able to raise funds for things that are so vital, you know, like safety equipment, helmets, or fences so the kids don't run away, or iPads so they can learn to communicate.
There's still so much more to do, and we're here to lend our little hand and make this thing a global thing.
It's every parent's desire for their child to have a great start in life. Yet there is a condition affecting more children's lives than pediatric cancer, diabetes, and AIDS combined. Autism strikes 1 in every 150 children.
Today, 1 in 110 kids in the U.S. will be diagnosed with autism. That is a huge jump from 30 years ago when it was 1 in 30,000.
Startling new report finds the number of children with autism is skyrocketing. The Centers for Disease Control estimates 1 in 68 children has a form of autism. Now that's a 30% increase in just 2 years.
Well, a lot of the children and all the accomplishments over the last 20 years, I'm thrilled.
I think what kept me was the feeling that, you know, I would have a parent come to my office late at night at UCLA and just fall apart. And this is a long time ago, and there were much less back then in terms of services and knowledge and so on. And I would just sit with the family and the parents and walk them through and try to take away some of their fears, you know. And at that point I realized, I think the thing that's actually most important to me is that process. I mean, thank God that I've been very, very lucky and blessed to have so many incredible clinicians join me along the way and just develop CARD in such an amazing, magnificent way. That I could, you know, for me it was more really about how can I help the families? What can I do for the moms, the dads, you know? It is just, and I feel like, you know, there's no way I would ever really know because I haven't had my own child go through this, but I've experienced it with people a lot of times.
Hi, this is Megan. I'm in first grade all by myself. My teachers are so fabulous. I like to read books. I like to go to my friends' birthday parties. I like to invite my friends to my birthday parties. I once had a sleepover with a friend. I like to have play dates with my friend. I'm the best reader in my class. I like to go to the library. I like to read different series of books. And here's how I learned to do all these things. By my card friends and Dr. Grampy. Thank you, card friends and Dr. Grampy.
Welcome back to Autism Live and to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. Nancy and I are in costume because it is our Halloween show, but we're going to drop our characters for the moment.
Yes, we're gonna drop Ellen DeGeneres and Rosie O'Donnell.
Rosie. Because we have an amazing guest who's here with us, and while we keeping the costumes on, we want to take this as seriously as anything else because what a great story, and we're thrilled that you're here with us. I'm going to slaughter your name, but Swathi Chetapalli?
Exactly.
Are you kidding me? Did I actually get it right?
You got it
What a
right.
beautiful name, what a beautiful mom, what a beautiful family, and we have tons of beautiful things to show throughout our discussion. But where do we want to dive in, Nancy?
Let's dive into just tell us your story, Swathi, about your family.
I have 3 children. The first one is Siri. It's a girl, and 2 boys, Ben and Andy. And Siri got diagnosed when she was 3 years old, and CARD was the place that we went to, and they started the therapy.
You started ABA therapy.
ABA when she was 3
many years ago.
Yeah, before a lot of people knew where to go.
1996,
How did you get so lucky as to find out about CARD and go there?
I didn't give up. I would call every day.
And you heard about them being the best provider of this.
That's the only thing we knew back then.
Mhm.
And my husband being an ER physician, he was never there, but I would do all the calling, and I said, we have to go.
Mhm.
He said that there is no magic that can fix
No magic
autism.
bullet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said it's too expensive and it's too difficult. Now the school districts are coming in. Back then we didn't have the school districts funding that.
So you funded it?
Yes.
My goodness. So at what age did Siri start her program?
Soon after the diagnosis.
Okay.
At
So
3
she was
and a
like
half.
3, okay.
3.5 or something like that.
Wow.
Soon after 3.
And how old is she now?
She just turned 24.
Wow.
Yes.
But you've got 2 other wonderful kids that are doing amazing things.
Yes, they
One
are.
who's an Army medic and the other one is in high school.
Yes.
Okay, so you kind of have your hands full anyway, but here you have this daughter who's making progress and doing all these wonderful things, but like so many people write in and talk to us, you reached a cliff, right?
Yes.
How old was she when services were all stopping and there wasn't anything more for her?
After she turned 22, there wasn't anything that was appropriate for her.
There was no day program?
No day program. Everything was
in terms of job training, any
Nothing.
kind of programs for her?
No.
And we hear that from so many families, as if it wasn't enough that you guys were pioneers in finding the therapy, then you had to be the pioneers in creating work for your kids.
Yes, because ABA, it teaches them everything in a systematic way.
Yes.
Right. Later on, if you just leave them alone, have nothing to do, just watch TV, they can't be happy.
Right.
They like productive days.
And they like a schedule.
Yeah, a
our kids
schedule
love,
and-
they thrive on a schedule.
Yes.
So tell us about how Designs by Siri came about then.
So she turned 22. She was at home because we didn't send her anywhere. We didn't want her to just hush and put her away in a place where
residential
she
home
is.
or a
Yeah.
place away from your family.
Exactly. Even we didn't want her to send her to the programs where she will not be happy.
Right.
And my middle child was gone to the army,
Mhm.
which means I didn't have any communication from him.
Mhm.
I used to miss him a lot. At the same time, I have my child at home and I don't know what to do.
That's a lot of stress for you, isn't it?
Yes, a lot. So in the Facebook, there's a group for parents for children whose children went into army training. There they put a post saying that there are some soldiers that do not have care packages. So we need somebody who can donate some of the packages.
Mhm.
Then I thought, okay, Siri is at home and she loves to go shopping. and maybe I can have her do the boxes. I asked her to bring a paper and a pencil. I told her we are going to Walgreens, we are going to CVS, we are going to buy Hall mints and earbuds and toothpaste and toothbrushes and small scissors and all the things that usually they need, the soldiers. So she was very happy. She looked at the list. We went and she got all the things, and then I would come home, asked her to open the packages and make them like heaps. So she did all that. Then I said, this girl, she was never tuned into me all these years. I could never have her do anything. But here I am, I'm getting whatever I'm asking her to do, so I just didn't want her to give up on that. So I gave her a small Ziploc bag and I said, count 50 earbuds and put them in and write on it. So she did that and she was very excited. She was waiting, what is the next one? I said, okay, count 20 Hall mints and put it in a Ziploc bag and write on it. She would do all that and she would just wait for the next instruction. So I said, okay, how do we prolong this process because it's coming to an end? She does very quick job. So I said, okay, let's go and buy some thank you cards because she loves to write. Her handwriting is very beautiful. So we went and got the thank you cards, and then I had her write something on one side, and then on the other side, I said that the Bible verse that's written on the top is my daughter who has autism. And my son is training with you guys. So they would be very happy and they would write back. And I would read it to my daughter. They would be very happy because Siri is the one who wrote that. One letter that even today gives me goosebumps is...
I've already got goosebumps.
The tears are coming.
No, seriously, this is
the tears are coming.
One soldier said, you have no idea, I'm just sitting here with this box in my hand and I'm just crying because today is my birthday. There is nobody in this world who knows my birthday. And from the office, people called, and from the office they called saying that he has a box. He said, I don't think it's for me because nobody knows that I'm here. So he went and took it, and that was his birthday.
Wow.
He said, you have no idea what kind of gift this one is for me.
And so moving for you, was this also, did she love getting the letters too?
She loved it.
Oh, how wonderful.
She loved it. And when I would reply back, because I'm telling her to write and she would write, so she would understand what I was trying to tell them. And then these soldiers graduated and I lost connection with them. The army doesn't give you the follow-up on them.
Right.
And here this girl, every morning she wakes up and then she wants to know what I have for her to do. I have nothing because everything was gone. So I said, okay, let's go to the bead shop. We went to Michael's and I said, just pick up whatever beads you want. She picked up all these stringed beads. So I brought her home and I said, I gave her a big bowl. Now cut them and put them in the bowl. 2-minute job, even this many beads. So I said, okay, now you have everything. Why don't you separate them with color? She separated. For me, the thing is that I had to keep her busy, and then size, shape, and then I said, okay, put it in the Ziploc. And this time I said, you should write the name of the bead, not just the number. So she was very interested because she had to look for the name. And I didn't know what to do after that. Then I said, okay, why don't I see, maybe she can make some jewelry. I don't know how to make jewelry. I myself am very bad with my fingers. So I went online and I asked for a simple earring. So there they showed T-pin and beads. So I gave her one T-pin, I got a pin, and then I said, put 1-2 beads. She put 1-2 beads on the pin. I told her to do a loop. Loop is you hold that thing and you make a loop like this. She made perfect loop than I could. That was the starting of whatever she is today.
And so now she has a whole line of jewelry.
She does.
And you've got, you know, it's all branded. It's designs by Siri.
Yes.
And
we're going to show some of this. We're going to take a break in a minute,
I
and we're
think
going to come back but I want to tell people how to reach you. Designsbysiri.com. That's designsbysiri, SIRI.com. You're on Facebook, Twitter, and Etsy. And there's also a phone number, 650-219-6069. Once again, 650-219-6069. And we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and look at some of the designs Swathi is going to show us some of the beautiful things that Siri has been making, and also some wonderful articles that have come out, and some new developments, some exciting new developments for the business.
Yes.
So we're really looking forward to taking a look at some of these, and this is just such a hopeful story, and we're so happy you're here to share it with us.
Absolutely.
So we're gonna,
and everybody can wait till you see these.
Wait till you
'cause,
see.
it's almost
Beautiful.
holiday season. You
Yeah.
need to get gifts for
Yeah.
people. You're going to want to see this.
They're great.
So stick
Okay.
with us. Right back after these messages.
You and I were just talking how much we love rice.
Exactly.
And what we're trying to do with our kids is to
Get them off the carbs.
Correct. Eat correct. Less rice. So literally, this is like what I would order at Benihana's or any Japanese or Chinese food restaurant, whether you're at P.F. Chang's, and we're going to do it all with cauliflower. So let's go ahead and get started.
Let's go.
So what we want to do is throw this all into the food processor here, and we're going to get this to the consistency of little rice pellets, if you will. So, and I'll throw some on the floor for the gods who need the floor cauliflower, and that's good. I think that's enough.
Okay.
So we'll go ahead and pulse this on. This almost looks like the Parmesan cheese that we were making earlier with the pesto. But I love this. It's definitely got the consistency. Looks a little bit like rice. So Amy, talk to me. This recipe with stir-fried rice. We want to use a soy sauce, but why no soy?
So with a lot of our kids, where we know they have issues with gluten and casein, soy is very similar in the way it's molecularly made up. So that with the gluten and casein, they break down into peptides that the body doesn't know how to process. Same thing happens with soy. So in this case, we really would caution not to do soy sauce for a recipe. So coconut aminos is a great substitute.
And so we've got our cauliflower ready to go, our peas and carrots, green onion, salt and pepper, eggs, sesame oil. Now we're going to head over to the stove. First part is to take our onions, and if you don't like green onions, this is great with sweet onions or even yellow onions chopped up. Then we're going to take our cup of peas and carrots. And I always like to say we go together like peas and carrots. So we'll get this all sauteed into tender. There's the egg. So, if we can, we'll do a little salt and pepper to taste.
Good.
So now what we're going to do is take our secret cauliflower mix, if you want to hand that to me. And we're going to throw this in, and notice the consistency does look a lot like rice. We're going to take the secret sauce that we were talking about earlier, the coconut aminos. Just love this stuff. So it calls for a couple of tablespoons, and as you all know, I'm not a measurer. And I may just put a little more in because I love this stuff. Cheers. Oh my gosh. You would never know this is not
good.
rice.
No.
No, we're hiding from our children all those carbs, and we're actually eating vegetables. Go figure. Hey, thanks for joining us again. Thank you, Autism Live, and we love seeing you here. We're all about healthy eating for our kids, and we appreciate you. If you have questions for Autism Live, hit autismlive@gmail.com. If you have questions for me and want to convert more recipes with me and Amy, that'd be great. We could do that again. You can email me at lisa@takanow, TACANOW.org, and we'll see you at the next What's Left.
This cooking video is brought to you by WellAmy.com. Amy, a certified nutritionist and holistic health practitioner, is an expert on autism and special diets. Find ingredients and other GFCF-approved foods and recipes at WellAmy.com.
Welcome back, you guys. We are here for Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. And if it looks funny, it's because Nancy and I it's the Halloween show. So Nancy and I, if you watch the beginning of the show, we're Ellen and Rosie O'Donnell, but we've dropped our characters for now.
Right. It was a viewer suggestion, which we
really
loved.
We did love
and we love Halloween, as you know.
And
it's
we'll
a tradition.
We'll
revert back, but we have a wonderful guest here with us, Swathi.
Can I say really quickly, though, about the recipe?
Oh, yes,
that we
yes,
just
yes,
showed?
yes.
Amazing recipe. It's one of my favorite things we've ever shown on the show, the no rice fried rice with cauliflower rice. It's amazing, and that coconut aminos, I really can't say enough good things.
They're very healthy for our kids,
it's
right?
fabulous. It's better for you than soy sauce, and you can get it from Well Amy. Find that online to Well Amy, because I'm telling you, it was amazing. I crave it now.
You turned me on to the cauliflower rice. I mix it with other rice.
To start, take regular rice and mix it with the cauliflower rice. My litmus test is always my husband, because my child eats very healthy, but my husband, he does this around a vegetable.
Right.
And I stick that in with the rice, white rice or brown rice, and my husband has no idea.
We had it last night. We had cauliflower rice mixed with white rice, and Wyatt has no idea anymore. He loves it.
But then when you put the coconut aminos on it, okay. I mean, I'm just saying.
Okay.
Like, I get excited talking about that. Okay. Find it at Well Amy.
So let's get back to our amazing guest.
But remember, we're in our wigs and looking different because it's Halloween.
Yes.
But we have Swathi, and I'm going to let you say your last name this time.
Chetipalli.
You say it so much more beautifully than I did.
Beautiful.
And you are a proud mom and a proud autism mom.
Yes.
And we've been talking about your wonderful and beautiful daughter, Siri, and how you discovered that she had this hidden talent, that she is an entrepreneur at heart, that she wants to be busy, wants to be working, and she is someone who makes beautiful jewelry. So we wanted to talk about the jewelry itself.
Yes, it is Designs by Siri. And go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Swathi.
And she's a graduate from Center for Autism and Related Disorders.
Yes. She attended CARD when she was first diagnosed. And how old is Siri now?
24.
She's 24 now. And so we told in the last segment how you discovered by really your guidance that she had this ability to make this jewelry and was able to do it very independently. In fact, doesn't want your help.
No, she doesn't.
You just she goes and selects things. And so now we want to take a look at some of the jewelry. We're going to hold some of it up. You want to start with some of these gorgeous earrings, Swathi?
Initially, she started off with this one.
So she started off with that.
If you can see, there are 3 beads, 1, 2, and 3.
Yes, 1, 2, 3.
It's beautiful.
And now she makes bigger ones because she likes to wear big earrings.
So this one is gorgeous, and as I said, there's something. I've been to India and traveled extensively there, and there's something about it's like there's something very Indian almost in this look to me that I just love. The gold and it's very lavish looking, very rich looking, and it's almost like that's in her,
Yes.
and it's coming out, her creativity. I love that.
So if you can see here, there's a small bead here, the big one, and this one, and this one. So many beads.
Yes.
She put on one pin, and then she had to attach that and the hook with this 4mm ring.
And you said it just comes natural to her.
You can watch all this on YouTube.
Okay.
I put all those because the small rings, the way she manipulates with those.
Okay, so our viewers can look on YouTube.
Yes.
At Designs by Siri. Is that where how it's posted, or?
Yes, everything is
Designs by Siri.
Okay,
so show us a few of the bracelets, and then I want to get into these wonderful things designed for kids on the spectrum.
Yes. So this one has autism charm, and these are all the beads. She loves anything that is, you can tell, all shiny and stuff like
But
this.
it's absolutely beautiful.
And when anybody places order, they get as is like this. So they can
I love
just
the packaging.
packaging is
and then
absolutely
there is
beautiful.
a description about autism at the back. So if you want to give away to your friends and let them understand what your child is all about.
And giving these gifts is a way to give back to someone with autism who is showing the world that our kids can be entrepreneurs and that they can make a living. And this is so important. So that's why we really encourage everybody today, order these for Christmas. These are great gifts, right, Shannon?
Isn't that what they call it? Conscious
Conscious
consumerism
giving.
and
Conscious
conscious
giving.
consumerism,
Yeah,
where
yes.
you paying attention to who you're giving your money to, and these are beautiful. These are great gifts that you would want to buy. I love these wine
Tell
glass
us about
rings.
the wine glass rings.
Wine glass rings, she was just making typical earrings, and one of my friends said, "Oh, these look like wine glass rings. Why don't you see if they would, like to? And we already sold to a winery in Sonoma, and there are other people.
You're in the
that
Bay Area. We want to say you're in San Francisco.
In San Francisco,
And
yes.
so it's great wine country. And let's talk about this wonderful.
This is a wine
cork.
And then I just put the dots here, and she put these pins in. And this is the bead she chose. I give her choices, of course. And this is the grape for wineries.
So this is wonderful. A keychain that if you're a wine lover,
yes,
this is such a great gift. And did you say there might be a winery interested in selling these?
We already sold to one winery.
You did? Which
yes.
winery?
It's Morriston.
Okay.
Morriston in Sonoma. And
Okay.
Corbel is
Sonoma.
interested. Martinelli is also interested.
Wonderful.
But we still
As
didn't
they
get the
should be.
contract. We didn't get the contract yet.
Okay,
they
but
are
you're gonna.
interested.
You're
Yes.
gonna.
And,
Okay.
and we make it with their corks. That way
Yes.
their name is advertised.
Swati, can you tell us about these?
These are food-based beads, safe for chewing.
Yes.
So for the children that have the need to chew, they can use this, and it looks very fashionable.
It's
it
darling.
doesn't look
absolutely darling. The girls has this gorgeous rose and hearts, and the boys has almost like a buoy.
Yeah, like a donut.
Yes,
Yeah.
like a donut. And I have a lot of friends who have sons that chew their shirts.
Yes.
And make bites in their shirts.
Yeah, some kids they kind of
Self-injurious.
Yes. So this one you can bite as hard as you want, but still it stays the same
Okay.
shape.
Wow.
And the good thing about this is breakaway.
Yeah.
So they
Love
cannot get
that.
choked.
Love that.
that.
Love this little keychain.
On this one, she put 2016 charm, and then this bell, and this one it says, "Live your dream." So, she loves making this.
Tell us about Dare to Dream, this pamphlet that you brought.
This one we made because we wanted to show others what Siri is doing right now. We didn't want it to keep the success only for her. We want other families and other parents to enjoy what we are enjoying. So we formed a team with these kids that are on the spectrum, excepting for one. And they love to make the bracelets.
Okay.
What we do is we actually have them come home and count the beads and put them in the bag, just the way I trained Siri.
So you have them come to your home and
Yes.
do this?
Uh-huh.
So
No,
you're
they
really-
take it home, but I
they
have
take
them.
it home.
But I want them to count so that they are all sitting at the table and counting it. It's very simple, counting and putting them in a bag.
Yeah.
And then, okay, you have 5, I want to make more. So they're looking at the other kid, right? So they want to take more bags home. And they know that every bracelet they make money off it.
So you're really starting a cottage industry, aren't you?
We are, exactly.
I love
And-
this because it's so inspirational how you started this, and it was one step at a time, and each time you were like, okay, she still wants to do something, how do I get her to do something more? And a lot of people they might have missed that, right?
Yeah.
But then the fact that you got her to this point and that's not enough for you, now you're doing the same thing with other girls on the spectrum.
I don't know, something about me, I don't know if it's strange or whatever it is, whatever I enjoy or I love it when I share it with others.
It's a beautiful thing.
And you get back so much, as you can
so
attest
much.
to.
You have no idea autism is such a thing that because I kind of discovered this, I want others also to have the joy that I have. There is one lady that she couldn't make it to the picture. She's 34 years old. She stims a lot. But her mom, she sent me a video of her making the bracelets. She takes a long time to feel the bead, and she's singing and she's beading, and the mom says just to see her sit down and do something, she said
It's a purposeful use of a self-stimulatory behavior. My son is an artist. He loves water and he loves splashing. And what we discovered was when he put the paintbrush in the water to change the colors, it kind of fulfilled that need. So that's what you found and what Siri has found and what you're helping others find. So you've had some attention here, some wonderful attention. Autism Bay Area had you on the cover.
Yes.
A young woman creates beautiful jewelry, and it's a beautiful story about, and a wonderful picture of you and your family, your boys, your husband, and there's the family dog, and then there's Siri in her lovely, lovely Indian garb. She dresses traditionally, it's lovely, and making her jewelry with some close-ups, so that's wonderful.
I just want to say something about that dress. So we said that camera, somebody is coming to take some pictures, and she had very dark blue, some color that I didn't like. So I, myself and my husband went into her room to see which dress she was wearing, and I said in my language, I don't think that color would look nice when in the pictures. She came out with that dress, the light colored one. I was surprised. I didn't say anything to her because I didn't want it to upset her, and she understood that just with my looks that I don't think that's the right color. And I don't know how she picks those things.
You know what I love about this story is that you're showing parents, and I'm getting a little emotional, you're showing parents that so much progress can be made.
There is so much inside. They may not look at us. There is so much
And it
inside.
doesn't stop at, so many people believe that if their kids don't progress beyond the age of 5 or 10 or 15, they're not going to progress. And you've proven they can.
They need to know that we believe in them. They need to know that we are proud of them. Everywhere we go, you know, I'm Siri's mom now. Nobody knows her.
Yeah.
All right.
What a wonderful thing.
You were in the, this is a lovely magazine about.
India Currents.
Okay.
When I called the editor, she said, oh, I don't think we want any stories because we already have all the articles for the month. This is in the April. So I said, why don't you just read the story? I sent her the story. She called me immediately. She said, I want to publish it.
Wonderful.
And she said, thank you for sharing.
And again, not a magazine about autism, you know, a
for the Indian
mainstream
community.
magazine, and doing a story about what you guys are doing. It really is so inspirational. And again, we didn't show these. We showed the other wine glass rings, and they're different. And so if somebody goes online, can they order specific things? Are the things are already made and there's pictures of them? How do they order?
On the website. We had an event last week, 2 days event. We couldn't handle the sales.
Yeah, I can believe that.
People coming in.
Lovely.
And what we did was we had Siri put the charms on. So they pick the charms and Siri puts them on. A lot of people took pictures because they are professionals that work with autistic children. They want to show to others that.
Gorgeous.
What do you think?
Beautiful.
It's absolutely beautiful.
I'm thinking this could be my
yes, you're welcome to
my
take.
New Year's. Yeah.
There you
And
go.
you know, maybe there's
That's
a way
gorgeous.
Act Today could have you maybe do some selling on our website.
Yes, please.
Autism Care and Treatment Today. And we're going to have to connect you with Dr. Grampachet again, and she's going to be very interested in what Siri's doing because CARD is doing a lot of work with
We would
young
love
adults.
to have Siri meet Dr. Grampachet because she met when she was like 4 years old, I think.
She's going to be, Dr. Grampachet is going to be so proud of her.
Yes, we are all very proud of her. This is how it looks. So the kids can wear, and then if they're upset or something, it breaks very easily. So
which is a huge feature when you're
it
putting
looks
a necklace on a
stylish.
child.
At the same time, it's
it's functional. It's
functional.
Yeah, it gives them a functional thing to chew on instead of their shirt or their pencil or their hand or very important. My son had to have a necklace for a while when he started B12 shots. He wanted to chew on everything, and so we had to get him a necklace. And it lasted for a little while that he needed to chew, and it made it so that he could concentrate on his schoolwork. It's a really powerful thing. So I just love all of this. And again, it's designsbysiri.com. They can go there. If somebody would like something custom made, can they put in a custom order?
Yes, we do. Organization in San Francisco, gave her an order for 250 keychains.
Wonderful.
Wow.
And we got the logo done, and they were so happy. And that's the biggest order we had. So we do corporate, with their logos, we
Yeah.
get the charms done.
Wonderful.
And
Wonderful.
Truly fabulous. Well, we thank you so much for coming down and
Yes.
being with us.
Thank you so much.
And please give our love to your whole family and Simba, the dog Simba,
I will.
but especially to Siri, and tell her we're just amazed with the great work she's doing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Nice to have you here.
We're going to take a short break, and then we're going to come back to talk a little bit about the highlights of Denim and Diamonds and to close out our special Halloween show. So stick with us.
This is Logan Shepherd. At first glance, he looks like a typical American teenager. He plays in a band, loves hanging out with his friends, he doesn't like doing homework, and he's not really fond of broccoli. But Logan Shepherd is not your typical 14-year-old. Logan was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2. He was nonverbal, made no eye contact, and his parents were told to abandon all hope. Instead, his parents began an intensive intervention treatment. At its center was a quality ABA program known as the CARD method. This is Logan Shepherd now.
All I really want to say is, like, I'm kind of copying Martin Luther King. I kind of have a dream, like, that one day, like, I can just, like, inspire people and never give up. Because, like, that's what I want to do in life. Because if I can succeed, they can succeed. And I will succeed.
To follow Logan's musical journey, visit www.facebook.com/officialdrummerrock or @drummerrock on Instagram. For more information on the CARD method, visit www.centerforautism.com or call 800-345-CARD. Rock on, Logan.
What a cutie patootie he is, that one.
Love that kid. Love that kid.
He's a great, great kid. We love him. What a fabulous drummer. And he played at Denim and Diamonds the other night. So, Ellen, you crazy woman,
Yes,
Ellen,
Rosie.
tell us,
Rosie.
Tell us a little bit about this fabulous event, Denim and Diamonds.
It was amazing. I mean, the stars. You saw Logan Shepherd. I mean, how cool is this kid?
He was so
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. And he's a
Awesome
CARD
child.
graduate, and he played those drums, magnified, and I love that Corey Feldman. What a cool kid. I mean, I always call him a kid, but he
fantastic.
introduced Nancy Alspaugh Jackson,
Yes.
and
Who
it
looked
was
stunning in her dress.
Well, so did Shannon
Just
Penrod.
saying.
So did Shannon Penrod in that blue.
Well,
I thought Shannon Penrod was just phenomenal.
You know.
So anyway, so it was just a great night. There were so many celebrities there. I mean,
and
there
a lot
were
of money was raised.
a lot
for
of money,
autism
a
and
lot of
for
money
children
raised.
children with autism, and
Yeah.
you know that's the whole thing
Yeah.
in a nutshell.
Yeah, yeah.
Was very proud of.
It was a very
of
cool thing.
Nancy Allspaw Jackson.
And I was very proud of Shannon Penrod.
And we will have pictures, maybe next week we'll have pictures because they're still being processed.
Yeah.
But in any case, do we want to talk any more about D&D, or can I pre-tell what's on tomorrow?
You can pre-tell what's on tomorrow.
Okay, so tomorrow on when Shannon is back, great show. There's this, you want to talk cutie patootie. Philip Folsom is going to be here with the Spartum program. It's a program for suicide prevention for veterans returning, and he's going to talk a little bit about that because it's stuff that we need to know about how we talk to people when they're depressed, because a lot of our kids deal with anxiety.
A lot of our parents.
A lot of our parents are dealing with anxiety and PTSD, and so Philip, who works with Fulcrum, it's the company when CARD goes on retreat and they take people up on the high wire, and Philip is the person who does that, and he is some serious eye candy. I'm just saying, okay? So he'll be here tomorrow and talking about that, and then we also have an expert talking about, I don't know if Rosie would say that, eye candy. But anyway, in any case, we also have an expert who's going to talk about stimuli. Stimuli, because when you're working on stuff with ABA, whatever you're using as is the stimuli, the pictures and the things, stimuli. And so a lot of times as parents, we will have to make the stimuli, or they'll ask us to come up with pictures or something like that, and it's like more than we can handle. And there's a company that makes this amazing stimuli, so there's going to be that. And as if that's not enough, special education attorney Bonnie Yates will be here to do our legal advice segment. So we're going to have her here as well, and it will be a fabulous show. And Rosie O'Donnell will not be here for that.
Nor will Ellen DeGeneres.
But we hope that everybody has a fabulous Halloween and a safe Halloween. Any advice? We've got 1 minute. Any advice about Halloween
just,
from you?
Make sure your costume is age appropriate.
And I'm going to say, one of the ththings that because I think this is probably the last year that, we'll trick or treat. But so we're getting a group of kids together so that they trick or treat together, because we know that being a part of a group
Safety's everything.
Safety's
everything.
Bullying is a thing,
and you know
right?
what? Dory would be a great costume this year.
You just keep swimming. Yeah. That's what I always say. In any case, we love you.
I'm gonna go out to the audience, do a little dancing.
Exactly, and as Shannon would say, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too.
And as Nancy Allspaw Jackson would say, give yourselves a hug from me.
Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.